Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the Man of Steel. I'm gonna rearrange your face if you continue to debate whether Logan's claws could...
Hey there, comic fam. Bullseye Bob here, and welcome to Everything Comics. And this is another episode of reviews, previews, and back issue breakdowns. And thank you very much for joining me today. And we're going to be going over the comics that were released on April 14th, 2021. And I'll give you my reviews of those. But before I do that, we do have some announcements, so I'll just get right into those. There'll be a timestamp on the screen, so if you want to skip the announcements and go straight to the reviews, you can do so. But here are the announcements. So, as you guys know, I used to film inside of the Refuge coffee shop. They are my number one go-to for coffee here in Portland. Besides Mocha Express, as you know, I always go to Mocha Express to get our coffee for the Coffee and Comic Show with Bueller. But Refuge Coffee House is a must-go on your itinerary if you ever come out to Portland. They're at 9217 Southeast Foster Road, right here in Portland, Oregon. And if you're going to be out here, let me know. Coffee's on me. Love to get together with you and talk comics. And also, this episode is brought to you by Comic Pro Line. That's right, Comic Pro Line is where you're going to go to get all of your comic book supply needs, your bags, your boards, boxes, storage, whatever you want, they got. Down in the description, there is an email to our good buddy Tony. And Tony will be able to take care of you. The Shopify link is not working right now, but that's okay. If you just email Tony, he'll take care of you. But that's Comic Pro Line, and they have everything you'll ever need. This episode is also brought to you by the Rogue Trader. That's right, my good buddy Eric Strubble. He owns the Rogue Trader, and he has an amazing pressing and cleaning service. If you're thinking about sending books in to get graded, you'll want to get them pressed and cleaned first. And his service is great. He's got a background in historical document handling, and he's been pressing for years. And it's a service that you don't want to miss out on because he's really good at it. You can find them at theroguetraderutah.com. There's also a link down in the description, so you can go check him out. But if you're going to be sending books in, that's where you're going to want to go because he'll take care of you. So a couple other things we got going on. Remember, tomorrow is Monday, and Monday is when the brand new Coffee and Comic Show usually happens on Comics with Bueller. My good buddy Bueller is he's out of town this week. He's visiting his daughter down in Arizona, and so we will not have an episode tomorrow, but I'm sure he's got something planned that he'll be putting up in the meantime. But join us the following week for the brand new Coffee and Comic Show, 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Monday. And the subject for the next video is going to be a Q&A session. That's right. You guys seem to like these Q&A sessions. We really love it. You guys can ask us any questions that you want, and make sure that you go to this week's preview video on Bueller's channel, and make sure you leave a comment in the comment section on what question that you want to ask us. But again, not tomorrow, Monday, but the following week we'll be there. Also, I have a new show that I'm planning. It's not going to be an every week thing. It'll be probably every other week, but it's going to be Bullseye Bob's 5 in 15. That's where I'm going to take 5 things and go over them in 15 minutes or less. It'll be a live stream, so after I go over my top 5, bottom 5, 5 random things, whatever it is, then we'll have a chat about it for, probably about an hour. It'll be about an hour live stream. But I'm really excited about it. The inspiration for the show was, I realized that when I got into comics, it wasn't like a slow ramp up. It was like I had found gold. I really got into comics from the very beginning, and I've always wondered what was it that grabbed me, the way that it did. And I had to realize that before I got into comics, there were all these things that I had gotten into that lent to my love of comics. As I found like all those things inside of one particular thing. Growing up with the Japanese kaiju movies, the science fiction shows on TV. There were kung fu movies. I mean, there's all these different things that I was into before I got into comics, and comics just encapsulated it all in one fantastic medium, and I was a fan ever since. And so I was trying to figure out a way to be able to do a show about that, maybe a top 10 list type thing, but it became too complicated, and so I'm just going to do some top fives, and we'll just create a live stream. Some of those things that got me into comics will be there, but there are a myriad of other things that I want to do. I'm really excited about it. Hope you'll join me. There'll be coming announcements probably in the next couple of weeks as to when the first show will be. But Bullseye Bob's 5 and 15, you don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. So that's it. That's the announcements, and we're going to go ahead and get right into our comics. Of course, these are the comics, again, that were released on April 14th, 2021. Let's get to it. Okay, so the first book up on our list is Shino Kage number 3. This one is by Black Box Comics. This one is written by Neil Davis, and the artist is Gus Malk, and the colorist is Michael Yakutis. You guys know that I've really been enjoying this series from the very beginning. It's set in ancient Japan. It's a supernatural, samurai-centric story, and I just absolutely love it. In the first couple of issues, we had a group that were following this one lord that's different than like normal feudal lords, but this group had kind of a supernatural element to it. So he doesn't have this huge army. He's got 7 of these super-powered, amazing samurai that have gone through these tests to become one of the 7. And when we get to the beginning of the book, there's some turmoil. We know that they're going to be going into battle soon, and one of their 7 is gone. They're dead. And so the main character of this book is the one who's been chosen to go through the trials to become the 7th. And so during the first, second, and now the third book, that's what we've got, is he's been going through these trials. He finally gets to the end of all the trials in this book, and by the end of it, he does become the Shadow of Death, Shino Kage. And I got to tell you, I loved every second of this book. The test that he finally has at the end, and the way he thinks through it was just absolutely amazing. He gets this sword that is sentient, and that sword has kind of been guiding all of the different people who have held it in the past. And he kind of feels like the sword considers himself a lord, like he's in charge. And this guy won't have it that way. They're going to be equals, and the sword agrees to it, and it's amazing. And so now I can't wait to see where we go next, because now he's going to be going into battle. And what he's found out when he gets home after all these tests is the battle has already happened, and the 7 betrayed the Lord. So now this one has to go after the other 6. I can't wait for it to happen. This has been an amazing ride since the beginning. The artwork is great. Let me show you some of the artwork inside of the book. It's phenomenal. The action is really good. I love the coloring. And some of the imagery has just been absolutely amazing in here. Just loving it. And I think it's probably my favorite comic out by Black Box Comics right now. Look at this stuff. This is just phenomenal. Sorry for the glare, guys. I'm trying to do it in such a way so that you can actually see the artwork inside of the book. But I've just been enjoying this series. If you haven't picked it up, you can still get the back issues, issues 1 and 2, very easy. This one is actually one of the variant covers, and my good buddy Bueller got that for me because Black Box has been sending us a lot of stuff. But Shino Kage number 3, really enjoyed it. Definitely pick it up if you haven't. Okay, so next book up on our list is Maniac of New York number 3. This one by Aftershock Comics. And this one is written by Elliot Callan, and the artist is Andrea Miuti. Okay, so, you guys know what this is. This is basically, another story of Jason. They just don't call him Jason. And so instead of, having a horror story where he's going after a group of people in a little town or at a, camp on the water, he's actually stationed in New York. And there's been multiple killings all over the city where he's gone in and taken out 30, 40, 50 people at a time. I mean, in this book, we get to our main characters, who are these two ladies, one of which is kind of disenfranchised with being an officer. The other one is hopeful that they can take this guy down. And so they're kind of juxtaposed as far as their attitudes and the way they approach their police work. But in the last book, we had him on the subway just killing people. And so these two finally make it to the subway, and they're looking not only for survivors, but also him. And one of the things you'll notice is the color palette in this is truly extraordinary. There's some monotone things going on, but there's some sickly blues and greens that give it just a creepy feel, juxtaposed with these reds and oranges for the gore, which is just fantastic. I love the composition of this book. But in this one, they finally find him on the subway, and we got a little cliffhanger at the end. I mean, this has just been a wild ride already. Can't wait to see where we go next with it. Maniac of New York #3. I've really been enjoying this series. Again, another great book that Aftershock is putting out. They're killing it this year, you guys. Okay, the next one is Home from Image Comics. And this one is, let's see, who did this one? Let's see, the writer is Julio Anta, and the artist is Anna Washizik or Wahowitz. I don't know how you pronounced the name. I think one of those is probably right. Okay, guys, I'm just going to say it right now. This is what I hate about comics. This is a political soapbox right here, and I don't like when writers use the medium to drive a narrative that they want to put out there, because most of this book deals with the issues that are going on at the border, and then at the very end you get this little supernatural thing that happens, which makes it a comic book. But for the most part, the whole narrative inside of here is based upon what's going on at the border. Sorry, but I hated it. I didn't like it. And before you think that, I'm just on one side or the other of this particular equation, I'm not. I lived in California. I know both sides of this equation. My dad was an immigrant that came here from Mexico in 1924 and crossed that border. I understand the conversation, but it's not a one-sided conversation. It's a very complicated issue, and anybody who's trying to push only one narrative makes it propaganda to me. And I'm sorry, but this was crap. Don't want to read it. There you go. All right. So, next book on the list, we have Spider-Man, Spider Shadow. This is a what-if comic book. We have this one written by Chip Zdarsky, and the art on here is by Pasquale Ferry. Ferry or Perry? I can't tell. But here we go. We haven't seen a new what-if book come out for quite a while. I was very happy to see this one coming out because written by my boy Chip Zdarsky. Love his writing. And this particular issue deals with what if Peter Parker had basically become Venom? What if the symbiote suit progressed in such a way that it didn't have an offspring and bonded with him in the symbiotic matter, before he got rid of the suit? And it all starts with him having nightmares, and the nightmares are all centered around the fact that everybody around him dies. And because of the heroics or his job that he has to do on the streets. And so he keeps having these nightmares, and he has a few different things going on. Hobgoblin shows up, which is which was kind of cool. That added some action to the book. But really, it all centers around him taking the suit to Reed Richards to have it tested. When he finally gets there, of course, Reed Richards, in his scan realizes that it is, there is a symbiotic relationship going on, and Peter is acting differently, and he's acting differently because they're starting to bond. And here we go, some more pictures inside here. or pages, I should say. And so we get to the end, and he starts to really lend into this bond. But the whole crux of this story comes to, and this is all spoilers, you guys, so if you want to read this for yourself, don't listen to the rest of this. But the whole crux of this comes when he goes to Aunt May and basically needs her help. And sitting right outside of Aunt May's house is Hobgoblin. He's followed Peter, and he bursts into the house, and through a number of events, the house explodes, and Aunt May dies. And if you know anything about the Spider-Man storyline, I think the Ultimate Spider-Man story was the one who portrayed it the best, when at the very end of it, you had Peter, who had just saved Aunt May. He's dying, and his last words were, "I did it. I saved you, Aunt May," because that was the whole drive behind Peter. He felt so guilty about his uncle that the one thing that he wanted to do was to make sure that his Aunt May was okay, and that he had taken responsibility for it. And so now, inside of this, Aunt May dying really made him lend into the Venom symbiote, and he takes out the Hobgoblin, y'all. And we are left with this last page where we get Spider-Man as Venom. I thought it was a good story. I mean, it really... I'm surprised the story hasn't been done before. You know, I mean, it's not like it's not going to wow you, but I thought it was a definitely a solid read. The artwork was okay. I mean, it worked for this, but it didn't wow me or anything like that. I thought it was kind of basic compared to what I'm normally seeing inside of some of these books. But for a story, a what if book, I mean, you can't beat this. I dug it, and if you haven't read it, I mean, well, you got the whole story now, but definitely check it out. All right. Okay, the next book that we have is Phantom on the Scan, #1. This one by Aftershock Comics. This one is written by Cullen Bunn and the art by Mark Torres. So I've seen a couple of reviews on other people's channels, and I guess people weren't too excited about this book, or they kind of dinged it. I didn't think it was that bad. I actually really enjoyed it. It does center around a trope that we've seen before. A meteor comes to Earth, and when that meteor hits, there's a group of people, I guess we're in close proximity to the meteor, that all of a sudden have psychic powers. And the main character is starting to realize that there are others out there that are like him, that have powers like him. And so he has this entity that's inside of him. It's kind of a shadow. It kind of reminds me of how Venom and Eddie react to each other. It's definitely a good relationship. And this particular entity is going to go out to the rest of the others that are out there that have powers. Look at this panel right here. You can see just some really creepy stuff going on. I really enjoyed the artwork inside of here. I thought it was really cool. There's some really things done to set mood and tense inside of here that I thought were fantastic. It gives it not only a supernatural element, but also a horror type feel. Here's the last page, and I just love this guy's face inside of here. But really, the people who have these powers, it's because there are these things living inside of them that are gestating, kind of like Alien. And while they're gestating, they have these powers. But at some point, that alien's going to come out. It's going to kill them, and then it's going to move on. And that's kind of what this story is about. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was as bad as people were saying. I'm definitely going to leave it on my pull list to see where it goes next. Because, again, I enjoyed the artwork, and I thought the story wasn't half bad. So what did you guys think? Are any of you reading Phantom on the Scan? Leave a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Okay, then we got Batman Detective #1. This is a 6-part miniseries written by Tom Taylor. And let's see, the artwork. There's not a splash page. Let's see. Oh, it's done by Andy Kubert. Okay, there we go. I forgot about that. Kubert also did this pretty cool cover. So, I love Tom Taylor's writing. Loved everything he's done on Deceased. I'm really excited to see where he's going with the Nightwing series that just came out. But this book revolves around Batman, kind of probably not as old as the Dark Knight, but he's getting up there in age, and he's kind of reflecting on his life and how some of the things that he is doing are quite meaningless, and he kind of want to leave. He kind of, in a certain sense, wants to leave everything behind. And then he sees that there is a crime scene in England that has his name on it, and it's the perfect opportunity for him to get away. So he goes out there and basically finds himself, I think it's in a graveyard, but the new version of the Squire comes up. And by the way, the artwork in here is phenomenal. It's really good. I love the color palettes too. And he's joined by the new Squire, and of all things, the first thing that happens is he's basically attacked by a ghost entity, which I thought was pretty cool. There we go. There's a picture of the ghost, and really, the whole crux of the story is there's a plane that was shot down, and that was basically the crime scene that had his name on it, and he goes out there to investigate that. And by the end of this book, even with a whole group of Batmans that have come in to try to attack the hospital where his friend is at, I think it's Beryl, is that her name? I forget who she is in the Bat family. But what you get inside of this book at the end is he figures out that the people that are being attacked are all the people that he saved in the past from Gotham. So somebody's out there trying to undo everything that he's done. I found it to be engaging. One of the things I think I ding it for is, as far as the main story goes, if you could just read the beginning and the end, you'd find out what the whole plot is for this story. Everything else in between is just a bunch of action that's filler until we get there. That's kind of how I felt. But the dialogue is really well done. What Batman is going through on the inside, really well done. Love this artwork by Kubert. And all in all, I thought it was a solid read. Definitely on board to see where they go next with it. But I really hope there's a lot more substance to it in the next book. There you go. So Batman Detective #1, brand new miniseries. Okay, next on the list we have Homesick Pilots. This is issue #5. I didn't know if we were at 4 or 5. Of course, this one is written by Dan Waters, and the artwork is done by Casper Wingard. I've been loving this series, guys. This has been just a wild ride. I think in the very beginning I said that it was kind of like the story of Christine, Stephen King's Christine, but with the house instead of a car. That's kind of how it's played out. But in this book, we definitely have the house is in full swing. Our main character actually is piloting the house, which has nothing to do with the name Homesick Pilots. That's the name of her band. And so we're coming to the end of the story, and I've really been enjoying it. I love Dan Waters' writing. I love what he's doing inside of a picture of everything else. The artwork inside of this has been phenomenal. I love the color palettes inside of this. And just the supernatural and creepy tale that he's been telling has just been phenomenal. I really enjoyed reading this issue, and I can't wait to see where they go with it next, because it's definitely going to continue. But basically, we have somebody out there who's taking this whole supernatural thing and creating a ghost, or like a ghost tech, creating weapons with the force that was driving the house. And now that's being put into a machine that's going to be, I don't know, it's covered up here. You really can't see the machine in and of itself. But our main character is going to be the pilot of it. So that's where we're going with this book. again, phenomenal. Artwork is phenomenal. The colors are amazing. I love the dialogue inside of this. The characterization of our main character, really well done. Homesick Pilots, if you haven't been on this one, you're missing out because this is an awesome book. And so for the next book on my list, we got Canto in the City of Giants, #1. You guys know I've been waiting for this one to come out. Man, there were so many good books that came out this week. I mean, this one up against Daredevil, up against A Picture of Everything Else, two of my other favorite books that are out right now. And so it was very hard to make a pick of the week. This did not make my pick of the week this week. You'll have to stay tuned to see what that is. But you know I love this. So this particular book, of course, is written by David M. Bueller. The art this time is by Sebastian Perez. And it looks like Drew Zucker took some time off of doing the art on this book because they are trying to get Canto 3 Lionhearted together. And so, first of all, I'll just say, David M. Bueller, one of my favorite writers. He really understands how to bring out the heart of a story, and it always touches my heart. You know as well as I do, Canto is one of my favorite series. David is definitely a part of that and makes it happen. The artwork inside of here by Perez, I will say, is it does a pretty good job. I definitely knew right off the bat that it wasn't Drew. There's some of the artwork there, but you get everything that you would totally expect out of Arcana inside of this book. These sweeping landscapes, the double page spreads that are just amazing, places where you can just immerse yourself into the world. The only problems that I had were some of the close-ups that they did on the giants. I would have liked a little more detail on them, especially when they're picture close-ups. It just, I don't know, I didn't quite like to feel like the pictures like this, just not a lot of detail there. But that's a very small ding. I think that Perez did a very fair job. And it didn't take away from my enjoyment of one of my favorite books on the market right now. So this book revolves around Canto going to the City of Giants because he's trying to recruit. He's recruiting for the big showdown with the Shrouded Man. And when he gets to the City of Giants, the two giants that he met at the City of Dis, and then of course we saw them again in Canto 2, are out in front of the city, and they're buried up to their necks and basically infested with all of these vermin, basically. And Canto saves them from that, but they're basically they're kind of shunned by the rest of giant society because they have no legs. Remember, they've been handicapped since the very first book, had their limbs cut off, and if they can't stand as tall as giants, and the rest of the giants don't consider them giants. And so Canto goes to the king and queen of the city and giants and appeals to them to let him take them and use them and show them that they can be of stature. And the way he does this is he has the Mysterian Witch with him, and he's going to have the Mysterian Witch use her powers to basically give them limbs for whatever Canto needs. Well, the king and queen's not having any of it. They could really care less about what's going on with those two giants. They're not part of giant society anymore. And so Canto appeals to them more. And so they basically said, wait. We have this creature that's plaguing the city named Pharaoh. If you can go take out Pharaoh and bring back his horn, we'll let them go. And that's all that Canto needs to hear. And so that's where we're going inside of this book. That's the setup. And that's where we're going next. We got these fun, some of these spreads are just comical. I love it. But that's what we're going next inside of this book is the adventure to basically find this creature called Pharaoh and help to save a couple of giant buddies who will join him to the final fight against the Shrouded Man, which I'm looking forward to. It's going to be amazing. Canto in the City of Giants, an amazing book. Absolutely love it. And I can't wait for issue 2. Again, it is one of my favorite books out there. The only thing that I can really ding this on is that it was so short. Right when I was getting into the story, it was like already over with. And I wanted more. I wanted so much more when I got to the end of it. But alas, got to wait to the next month, just like you guys. And so there you have it, Canto in the City of Giants. That's my review on it. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, and then we have The Joker, #2. This one written by James Tynion. and of course the artwork by Gillum March. And this book picks up right where we left off last time. Of course, we're finding out that there's a couple of people who have approached Jim Gordon to basically kill the Joker. They're going to pay him an enormous amount of money to go and kill the Joker. And so this book, we are going to find out if he's going to accept that offer. And so he's got a lot of turmoil at it. I mean, there's a piece of it that's very simple. He wants to kill him, but he also knows he has a few things to do. One of those things is to run this across Batman. And he basically does that inside of this book. He runs it across him, but in such a way, not to say that he's actually going to go kill the Joker, but to go after the Joker himself. And so that was all kind of cool. I think you can tell that Batman knows what's going. Excuse me. You can tell that Batman really knows what's going on, and I don't think that's any secret. I think the big thing inside of this book is the reveal that James Gordon has known all this time that Barbara was Batgirl and that she's also Oracle. And that was a great revelation and a great scene between him and her. I love Tiny and Dryden. The dialogue inside of this was really well done. Gillum March, again, artwork, phenomenal. I mean, this is just some amazing stuff. And Joker 2 was every bit as good as the first issue. And I think we pretty much have the resolve that this is what Jim is going to do after all the pain that the Joker has caused him. It looks like his heart is set on going after him. We get a small scene with the Joker inside of this book. It's nothing to write home about. But at the very end, big reveal also is that the people who put him on this path, the people who have made this offer, are actually driven by the Court of Owls, which I thought was a really cool tie-in. So now we got the Court of Owls in play in this storyline. And here's a book that is called The Joker, but Joker hasn't really played even a huge part inside of this, and I think that that's genius. And so I've been loving this series, definitely keeping it on my pull list. I wish all DC books were like this. Phenomenal. Okay, next up is Daredevil, number 29. This one by Marvel Comics. Of course, this one written by Chip Zdarsky. Art in here is done by Marco Cicchetto. And loving my book. Just absolutely loving Daredevil. You guys, this is an awesome issue. A lot of things going on here. And if you're not on this book, you're crazy. You should be. We get some great Elektra action inside of here. She's actually picked up a little sidekick that she's starting to train, which I thought was a really cool concept. She's still dealing with trying to bring whatever Matt's morals were to the table when she's doing the job and she's out there as Daredevil, which I think is really cool because there's a conflict in it, but it's also, you can see her heart changing towards it. I think she's gaining a greater understanding of Matt, which is really cool. Then we get another scene inside of here where Izzy Libres, basically the boss of Hell's Kitchen now, after the whole Battle of Hell's Kitchen and taking Owlsley out, and so she is the big boss now, and she hands over all her men and everything that she, as far as being a boss of Hell's Kitchen, hands it over to her son Butch. I think that's his name. I think it's Butch. But which is, okay, but that's not really what's going on here. When you find Butch later on, he's meeting up with Mike Murdock, Daredevil's brother. I told you guys to watch out for this guy. Chip Zdarsky told me he had something huge planned with Mike Murdock, and now he's back in play, and we're finding out that it was the goal all along to have Hell's Kitchen turned over to Butch because they got something planned for it. So this is going to be amazing. We got much more story to tell in Chip Zdarsky's run here, and I can't wait to see it. Of course, we get Matt still inside of prison. The last time we left him, he was poisoned, and now we can kind of see him, how he's fighting off that poison. He tries to go out and meditate, and when he goes out, that was kind of the plan behind the poisoning. There's a bunch of dudes who come out into the yard, obviously let out there, that are going to take him out, and we have a huge fight that ensues between him, and the rest of those prisoners. I still think it's bonkers that he has the mask on, but the way Chip Zdarsky has spun this, it works. The artwork inside of here by Marco Cicchetto, I love every time this guy does an issue of Daredevil. It's just amazing. His artwork is bar none. It's awesome stuff. I wish he was on every issue, but of course, that's not the case. We do get another scene inside of this book, which was a huge reveal, is that, after the whole Battle of Hell's Kitchen, there was a thing that happened with Bullseye. Where's he been since then? Well, we find him, right, and Wilson Fisk has my boy, and he's basically put him in such a way that there's something that's being done to him where Wilson says, I'll finally have a Bullseye that I can control. Oh, I don't know what's going to go on there, but I can't wait to see. It's going to be phenomenal. And, of course, when we get to the end of the big fight at the end of the prison, Matt is basically left for dead because he's fought his heart out, as he always does. Daredevil 29, I loved every bit of it, and I can't wait to see what the next issue holds. Chip Zdarsky is telling a phenomenal tale, and this is definitely some of the best stuff that Marvel is putting out on a monthly basis. I wish all their books were like this. All right, so now we get to my pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week is A Picture of Everything Else by Vault Comics. This one written by Dan Waters. And the artist on this one is Kishore Mohan. You guys, I have loved this since issue 1. I'll keep saying it. It's damn near a masterpiece. The use of English language that Dan Waters uses to give conversation and to portray these characters. And then the artwork by Mahone is just phenomenal. And there are some emotionally compelling scenes, not just words, but full-on scenes that happen inside of these books that are just phenomenal. Pieces of art, as far as I'm concerned. And the tale that they're spinning is just beautiful. I love the period feel of this, because it is set in, 18th century, 19th century France? I think it's 19th century France. Actually 18th century France. I forget, whatever it is. The time of the Bohemians, all right? But the book is centered around these two friends who are artists, and they're living the bourgeois life, going out there to parties with the rich, and they're just a couple of poor artists, but they're led into these avenues because of what they can do in art. And they come across another artist that's in France, and that artist happens to be the guy who painted the picture of Dorian Gray. And when he's in France, he starts to experiment with this new talent and that he's gained since painting that picture of Dorian Gray. And not only can he give people life through his painting, of course Dorian Gray is immortal as long as that painting's there, and whatever happens to him actually happens to the painting. Well, same thing in reverse. He'll paint the picture, and if he rips the picture in half, the person in real life rips in half. If you set it on fire, the person in real life combusts. And so he does some experimenting in France, and basically you start to find out that there's this, in the news, they've been talking about this butcher of Paris, and you're realizing it's this painter who's the butcher. And so our two main characters are split because one of them goes to be his apprentice, this painter's apprentice, and the other one is so horrified that he basically stops painting altogether. He gets injured by the guy, almost killed, and so basically this is now them. This issue is them coming back together. His old friend coming back to meet him, and not only that, but to meet this painter who has this ability, and he kind of presses him because now he's a critic. He was going to press him for why he's done this, why is he painting this way, and where did he get this power? we get this backstory tale inside of here that is just phenomenal. I had so much fun reading this. You get these black and white pieces that are just slivers on the panel as you go, and in areas where it's flashing back to the people who are listening, it's in color. But you get this gruesome piece of the tale where the original painter was basically almost killed. I mean, slashed like you wouldn't believe. Anyway, he gets the power and the ability, and he takes us all the way up until modern times, and we find out that the reason why he was killing all those people is in his experimenting is now he's created a painting of Paris itself, the whole city, and inside of that painting nobody dies, and so he has created a way to save all of Paris, and we're kind of left with this twisted idea that he has, and this guy who's the critic being just as horrified. I gotta tell you, the composition of this book is just absolutely amazing. I love period pieces anyway, but this is a step above. Dan Waters, the way he has written this, the use of language inside of the book, it flows so well. It keeps me glued to the page. I'm hanging on every word. The lettering by Aditya Bidikar, I don't know if that's how you actually say his name. Then the artwork inside of this, it all fits together. Again, I will call it a masterpiece. If you're not on a picture of everything else, this is one you should definitely get. It's amazing. So that's my pick of the week, folks. What did you think? Okay, folks, so that's the show. Thank you for hanging out with me for a little while. Hope you enjoyed the reviews. Leave me a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you're reading. If you like the content that I'm putting out, do me a favor. Hit that like and subscribe button. We got a lot of great stuff planned and coming out, and I can't wait for this next season. But that's it for today. So you guys, you know how I always end this. Always support your local comic shop, and Excelsior. We'll see y'all later, folks. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna rearrange your face if you continue to debate whether Logan's claws could pierce Steve Rogers'